All right, guys, you got a situation where you have to bleed brakes, but you can't get the bleeders open. I've experienced this up in New York when we're dealing with plow trucks and stuff like that, where I had to replace a rotted brake line, but guess what? The calipers, or wheel cylinders or whatever, the bleeder screws are just completely rotted off. You can't do anything. So what do? You take it all apart and you replace everything? Well, sometimes it's not a situation where you can do that. My own truck, for example, it was a plow truck, and the bleeders are just completely rotted off in the back, and I blew the brake line going down the frame rail to the rear. Okay, well, you know what? I'm not about to put this kind of money into this thing. It's a lot truck. I didn't want to. So what do? I had to bleed it from the master cylinder backwards, basically vacuum bleed it. Now, I'm doing a master cylinder on this F-150, and I realized the brake lines go at an angle to the master cylinder. Let me show you. See down here? They're not perfectly flat, and they don't go at a downward angle. This end is higher than that end. So even though you bench bleed the master cylinder, like I already did, even if you have somebody get inside it and push the pedal down, and you have the line cracked open to bleed it, you're still going to have air in here, because the highest point is here, not there. So what do? Let me show you real quick. Like I said, see that? This is the highest point. So what do? All right, you vacuum bleed it. Now I understand not everybody has a handheld vacuum pump or even electric vacuum pump, but those of you that do have one or have access to one, it's definitely a viable option. Let me show you what I'm doing here. All right, so I got the master here. I take the cap off. I just set it to the side. You don't want to get dirt in there. Now I have this handheld Mighty Vac vacuum pump. I have it hooked up to this reservoir. Now, let me show you real quick what I got here. Let me pause this. So now vacuum comes in at this point right here. And that point is not in fluid. At this point is in fluid inside this reservoir. Now this reservoir is going to go to that old cap that I drilled a hole in. Hold on again, 1 second. I just wanted to tighten up that reservoir. So now this comes to this cap. And like I said, I drilled a hole in it, and I stuck, this is part of the kit that you get with the vacuum pump. And what I do is, you put that on and you tighten it up. It's a regular cap, but now it's sealed, and it has a seal on the inside there. This is brake fluid in here, it's fresh brake fluid. So now, with the handheld vacuum pump, I'm just going to pump it up by hand, obviously, like so. And you'll see you got bubbles coming through. See that? You see the bubbles coming through. Now sometimes, not all the time, if you stand there and you actually look at the master cylinder, while this thing is holding a little vacuum, you don't have to have a lot of vacuum on it. I'll put some on there. You don't have to go crazy, you know. I just boosted it up a bit. And sometimes you could see it, but I had already done this before I made the video. I could actually see bubbles coming up and hitting here. So that tells me the front line definitely sucked the air out of the system. Now, another way to do this is, instead of bleeding it, what you could do is you could go down to the caliper. Now, it requires unbolting the caliper. You can unbolt the caliper and compress it. When you compress it, you're pushing the fluid back up into the master cylinder. So now the little bit of air that's built up in that line, that little bit of air is going to get pushed backwards through the master cylinder. Basically, you just bled it out. So that's something else to consider. So now, with this, I'm confident all the air is out of the system. I'm just going to do it again. I'm going to bleed it up, or vacuum it up. Now, it's not a perfect seal. There might be, a slight vacuum leak here. I'm confident this is probably not leaking at the reservoir. at the cap rather. But I'm confident that that's gonna, it'll bleed down over a while, but I'm confident all the air came out of the system. Now, if you got a four-wheel drum brake system, I can't really help you there, other than you pull it all apart and then you compress the wheel cylinders on there to push the fluid back. That's a pain. But with calipers, like I said, you compress the calipers on both sides, you're going to push all that fluid up through the master cylinder, and you're going to push out any air that's in the line. So it's something to consider. It's in case you can't get bleeders open for whatever reason. Remember I told you in another video why I don't do like constant filming while I'm working, because there's so much noise. Well, right there, I don't know if you heard all that noise. Mo decides he's going to do some weed whacking right behind me while I'm making a video. It happens every day. So phone calls, you name it. So that's why I don't do constant videos. That's why I constantly cut in and out while I'm making a video. So I'm going to be confident that this is done. I'm confident all the air is out of the system. I'm happy with it. Like I said, I could see the bubbles coming up in the master cylinder. Sometimes you can't. You just have to, assume that it worked out. You put a vacuum on it, and you're going to see in that reservoir, you're going to see air bubbles come through. But if you got to remember something, you had air in the line going to the master, and at the top of the master, you had some air there anyway. It's going to suck all of that out. Now, when you release the vacuum, what happens is the fluid returns, from that reservoir the reservoir that's in the middle there. The fluid is going to return from that into the system, so you're actually going to overfill the system a little bit. Not a big deal. You just suck some of it out, or whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. But so anyway, that's it. So that's going to be good to go. I'm going to be happy with that. Now this is part of another video that I'm still in the process of editing and stuff like that. It's a long video. It has to do with ball joints and stuff like that. This thing had a very odd pedal, and I wasn't 100% confident that it was the master cylinder. This thing had grinding brakes, a whole bunch of stuff going on. Ball joints, grinding brakes, you name it. So I wanted to do the brakes first, because I've seen where brakes are so low, it just creates a very odd pedal. I did all of that. I road tested it. The truck ran great. The truck stopped fine, but if you sat there, the pedal just crept to the floor. So I knew the master was no good at that point in time. I was just, when it was doing it before, the fact that brakes were grinding, I figured let me do the rest of the brakes first, because I was not 100% confident that it was a master cylinder. So that's where we're at. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you like my videos, hit the like button, please. If you could, please subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe too. Really help me out. I need to get to 1,000 subscribers. That'll open up new windows for me, new doors, you name it. It'll really help me out. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a great day, and keep wrenching.